Freight Efficiency with NACFE's Mike Roth and Friends.
Here in episode 68, we're joined by Ken Marko. He's Fleet Sustainability Senior Manager at US Foods, where we talk about his personal sustainability journey, his new position at US Foods, and the role he plays in helping the fleet achieve its sustainability vision. He also explains why US Foods is an ideal fit for EVs, offers suggestions to other fleets considering adding EVs. We both talk about our impressions of the Tesla Semi, and he encourages fleets to get involved with the Technology and Maintenance Council's S11 committee. Today we have joining us Ken Marko. Ken and I go way back. He's a Fleet Sustainability Senior Manager at US Foods. It's a real pleasure having you on today. Thanks for joining us.
Glad to be here, Mike. And as you mentioned, you and I go way back. So we've had a lot of good discussions about this particular topic, and I'm excited to be here and share some thoughts on it.
Do you remember, Ken, when we met and became friends? I mean, the title of this podcast is Mike Roth and Friends.
I do. I remember our first introduction roughly 11 or 12 years ago. You were screening me for an interview at the time.
Yeah, let me tell it, I guess. So we had done some work. We were doing some work with Pepsi Frito-Lay. And Mike O'Connell said, "Hey, Mike, you know anybody that might want to join us? We need an engineer." And I had left Navistar only maybe a year earlier, and I knew that in the Dallas area that both Navistar with the Garland plant there was reducing its force, and I knew something was going on over at Denton and Peterbilt, and so I just started asking around, and pretty quickly somebody said, "Well, there's this guy Ken Marko, used to be at Peterbilt." And so I don't know how I found you, but LinkedIn was at its early days back then, so something like that. And I remember calling you because I was like, okay, well, here my my reputation at Pepsi's at stake here. I don't want to just send anybody there. So I thought, well, let me give him a call, and so I called you up, and I remember you answered the phone and said, "Oh yeah, Mike, I'd like to talk to you. But you got to hang on. I'm refereeing a wrestling match. Is that correct? Do you remember that?"
Yep. It was a great introduction, and fortunately, it had very good results because you did send my name on. I got the interview with Frito-Lay, and that became part of my journey in sustainability as well.
Yeah, let's start this with just your personal journey. So tell us about your career and sort of maybe as you talk through. Go back to your education and your jobs, and
Sure.
but throughout that time period, sort of what might have been some of those key moments that got you to where you are today, and then tell us what you're doing today.
Yeah, so I started out going to school, got an engineering degree, a mechanical engineering degree, and proceeded to start work in industry, and have worked in this particular industry over the last over 25 years now. Hard to believe it's already been that amount of time, but I worked for Peterbilt Motors for a number of years as a development engineer. So I had the opportunity to work on a number of advanced development programs, new vehicle models, and with a primary focus in powertrain development and doing engine installations and focusing on engines and how they could contribute to efficiency of the vehicles and all. And so I think that's really kind of where I started my journey in sustainability. Had a focus on powertrains and how they can help with the efficiency of vehicles. And then I went to work with Frito-Lay, and that was kind of my focus as well, developing specs for the company as a customer, but heavy emphasis on evaluating alternative fuel type vehicles and looking for efficiency improvement opportunities to be able to help save fuel and reduce emissions and help contribute to sustainability of the overall fleet and all. And then over the last 3 years, I actually had the opportunity to move to the state of California. I was based in Texas and got the opportunity to move to the state of California, where I got to manage a large fleet electrification program for Frito-Lay, and that involved a number of different technologies, including solar for on-site generation, battery storage, charging stations, anywhere from level 2 all the way up through mega chargers, and then the introduction of electric vehicles, as well as some CNG vehicles on site as well to help with sustainability. But the main emphasis was on the electric vehicles. And over that 3-year project, I developed a great deal of experience working with those types of technologies, and just developed a passion for it, and really enjoy working with those types of technologies and working with them and understanding the benefits that they contribute to not only the fleets that they are being added to, but even the communities. So a big part of that project included outreach to the community and working with key stakeholders in the community and the grant authorities and CARB and other people in the community. But it was great to develop a better understanding of what those types of projects really do to help contribute to the air quality of the communities in that they serve as well. And so that was great. But the other part of it was just working with the fleet team as well, working with the technicians and working with the drivers, and just getting the opportunity to get feedback from them on these new technologies and see the excitement that they had. That there was a great deal of enthusiasm with our drivers to adopt these types of technologies and some of the benefits that they offer. They're so quiet in the operation, they don't smell like diesel when they go home at night, and just the torque and the way they operate.
We get caught up so much in this, electric truck thing about all the challenges, and we kind of, we understand the benefits with, zero emission and saving fuel costs. Now we're at, $5 diesel and the driver benefits and all that, are big. I mean, so the benefits, sometimes we keep thinking, yeah, it's a benefit, but it's kind of like, almost a given. But we need to keep that in front of us as we go through this hard work of deploying these electric trucks and dealing with the challenges, because the classic, the goal's worth the effort with these trucks, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's looking at a lot of different things as far as how it does benefit, from an emissions perspective, emissions reduction, because there's absolutely a benefit there. But we're still pretty early in a lot of these projects and introducing these technologies, but it certainly looks like there's going to be some benefits from a cost perspective, or at least an operational cost benefit. But I think it's, there's the non-tangible things too, like the driver satisfaction, technicians being able to develop new skills and advance their capabilities in the industry, and then again, like the air quality of the communities that we serve, as well as fleets go.
Yeah, a lot of us call those non-tangible, but I guess I'm going to disagree with you, Ken. I mean, they really are tangible. It's just hard sometimes to put dollars and the actual to put the numbers to them. And part of that is it's just we're kind of we've been conditioned to think about them as non-tangible. Really there are real dollars associated with it. Sometimes it's dollars that maybe the owner or the fleet doesn't see, but communities do and others do.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because I think a lot of times we look at the dollars and cents and the emissions and those things that we can put numbers to be able to justify a lot of these projects. But you're right. I think that emissions benefit, and you've been around the industry for many years, and I'm sure you can remember those early days in California where the air quality wasn't great. But I can tell you that some significant improvements have been made over the years with different technologies, and will continue to improve with the adoption of these new technologies as well.
Right. And now you've taken these learnings and you're working at US Foods to work on their fleet. So tell us a little bit about the fleet there at US Foods, and why you're working on battery electric trucks there with the duty cycles that exist.
Yeah, so like I said, my experience was with PepsiCo, Frito-Lay, and got that great opportunity of working with the Fleet Sustainability Project, hands-on, on the ground, working it day to day with all the suppliers to implement that technology. And now I've moved over to US Foods and have a great opportunity to help them on their sustainability journey. So they've adopted and what I would consider one of the real key important factors for any fleet is adopting a sustainability goal. You got to have a vision. to start with, and US Foods has done that and has a sustainability goal. So I am now in the process of developing plans and and developing strategy for the company to be able to help support that sustainability goal. And electric vehicles are going to be a big part of it. And I think, and really the for the industry, it's really two things for me. One is that corporate sustainability goal, because it's a good thing to do. It's going to help the company long term. There's a lot of pressures from stockholders and customers that we serve. There's a growing interest in the market to be able to provide more sustainable solutions or cleaner burning type solutions for vehicles to deliver products to the market now. So that's certainly going to help. But there's also regulatory pressures that are influencing these decisions as well. And a number of states that are adopting these types of regulations that are encouraging the use of zero emission vehicles. And of course, California is at the forefront of that. But that's kind of driving it as well. And US Foods has an active electric vehicle project underway in one of our Southern California locations. We're going to add 30 electric vehicles in the next 6 months or so, and currently working on the infrastructure part of it to add the charging stations to be able to support that. And that'll be a good opportunity, a good pilot site for us as an initial site to gain some good valuable experience on how these vehicles work in our particular fleet, so that we can use that experience and apply it to other sites in the fleet, as well as we work toward our goal to achieve our sustainability goal. But for US Foods, we're really an ideal scenario or an ideal fleet for electric vehicles. The range capability for the vehicles that are in the industry or in the market today, is in that 200 to 250 mile range. And most of our routes were considered a regional fleet. And most of our routes are in that 200 miles or less category. So really electric vehicles are almost an ideal situation for our fleet. And so I'm very excited about the opportunity to add electric vehicles to this fleet.
And those are pretty much all day cabs, and they return to the base every night and stay overnight. So you can use relatively slow charging. Do I have that right?
Yeah, we go out one route per day. So we're out, it could be 10 to 12 hours, but then when they come back, they've got 10 to 12 hours to be able to charge as well. So we've got a lot of time to slow charge and manage the charging effectively.
Right. And here at NACFE, we call that medium regional haul. So, we've kind of taken regional haul and said, okay, regional haul is typically how we define it is it's a return to base every day or every other day. And short regional haul is less than 100 miles, medium regional haul is less than 300 miles. And long regional haul is maybe the 250 miles out and 250 miles back, which are, kind of city tractors. It's typically, industry calls it. And then, like medium range, which we're talking about with you, like, maybe between 100 and 300 miles. And then, long regional haul is, what a number of fleets call, like that fast return or quick out and back, where, they do some Pony Express maybe, or other things like that, where they can get up to 500 or 600 miles. So you're really in that sweet spot for electric heavy duty tractors, Ken, where you got enough miles where there's enough fuel savings to help pay for it all. But not too much range that, we can't satisfy it with today's products or the products that are emerging right now.
Yeah, exactly, Mike. I think it's really a good matchup right now, with the current range capability of the vehicles that are available and a good majority of the routes that we operate. Now, we have some routes that are shorter than that, but for us, really, I'm going to be focusing more on kind of that 100 to 200 mile range range routes for the electric vehicles, because we want to maximize the benefit, because you're going to get the maximum benefit of emissions reduction and all with the more miles that you put in, as well as cost savings and fuel savings as well.
Yeah. So Ken and I have we've kind of had a front row seat to some of the cool things that have gone on in the industry over the last number of years. And I'd point, if you're interested in kind of following some of that, you can look at the Run on Less event in 2017 on our site, runonless.com. And Ken and I, we worked together on the participating truck that drove or delivered snacks from, I think it was like Perry, Georgia to Charleston, South Carolina every day in that run. Remember that, Ken?
Oh, yeah.
And then we also worked really closely on Run on Less Electric in 2021 with the Modesto box truck. So, if you're, go take a look at those two events on runonless.com. But I got to ask you, you and I were both at a Tesla semi event just a couple of weeks ago. And I've talked around the industry a fair amount over the last week about what I saw there. And I was kind of impressed with the 500-mile run. I mean, it was not a made up run of downhill all the way with the wind to their back, no load. I mean, it was a real full load of a truck at 500 miles. Now they went all the way down to 4% battery. So who knows if that's, something that can be done day over day over day. But that run was pretty good. And then, I was just kind of impressed with the truck design. It was pretty straightforward regional haul truck design with a lot of the components being smaller or lighter than I kind of expected in a heavy duty truck. So those are some of my insights from the semi that we sort of saw a couple of weeks ago. You got anything to add to that while I've got you here?
Yeah, I think a couple of things, relative to that vehicle, and I was impressed with the 500-mile run as well. The fact that they've been claiming that, and they actually went out and demonstrated it and proved it. That certainly provides the potential of increasing the range capability for battery electric vehicles. So that was pretty impressive. But I think one of the things that really stands out to me is that it's a truly new design, ground up. They're not adapting to a previous diesel chassis, but they've taken a new approach and clean sheet approach to designing the truck and really looked at it in a different way. And it's a little bit different. It's a lot more unconventional, which is not that typical for this particular industry. But the whole concept of increasing some of the safety features for drivers and putting the driver right in the center of the cockpit is a real interesting concept. So it'll be interesting to see how drivers adapt to that and using mirrors to drive that vehicle going forward in the future. But I think the other part of it was just some of the designs that they incorporated into this vehicle and how they were able to, again, starting out with a clean sheet process and really trying to optimize it for weight reduction, because that's one of the big concerns in the industry right now with battery packs and the weight impact of those batteries. Tesla has really put a lot of effort into taking weight out of different parts of the vehicle to help reduce the weight of that as well. So I think that's going to be an interesting advantage for them as well.
Right. And they're focusing on, one of the sort of the new things, that has become a requirement. And you talked about it earlier with sustainability and so forth. But, these regional haul and long haul trucks, they consume something like 80% of the class 6, 7, and 8, or maybe it's even class 3 to 8 fuel burn. So, we talk about, a wide variety of kinds of trucks out there, from fire trucks to garbage trucks to concrete mixers to dump trucks to over the road trucks, et cetera. But if we're really going to make a difference in carbon and sustainability, it's got to be these regional haul and long haul semi trucks, tractor trailers over the road. And so being focused on that part of the market, and all the truck builders are focused on that part of the market, but not being encumbered by also having to build and have products for a wide range of different kinds of trucks is going to be an interesting option for fleets going forward. Hey, Ken, we always kind of run out of time. I do want to get, we both serve on an S11 committee at TMC, the Technology and Maintenance Council of the American Trucking Associations. And I guess I wanted to ask you, and then maybe I'll add some comments. I mean, why do you do that? Why are you, the chair of S11 at TMC? And, why should others care?
Yeah. So, for me, TMC has been a great opportunity to just get to know more about the industry and networking with others in the industry and just gain valuable information about new technologies, that sort of thing, and for S11, that really fits my background, my experience really well, because it's focused on technology and sustainability, rather environmental and sustainability technology, and that includes battery electric vehicles, it includes efficiency improvements of diesel vehicles, and it includes other types of technologies that will help improve the efficiency of the industry and reduce emissions for the industry as well. So it's been great because we've had the ability to focus on these new technologies and identify opportunities where we can collaborate with others in the industry, other fleets, and work together to be able to develop some recommended practices that will help other fleets in the future be able to adopt these technologies a little bit simpler with some guidance rather than having to learn everything on their own. And so it's been really valuable just being able to network and collaborate with a lot of others. And right now there's a heavy emphasis on battery electric vehicles from a strategic perspective at TMC in the S11 committee. And so we've developed a lot of new task forces that will be focusing on a number of different issues related to battery electric vehicles that'll be important over the next several years to be able to help the industry as they adopt these technologies, anywhere from different maintenance practices, software, infrastructure development, and a lot of other types of topics. So if anybody's interested, certainly encourage others to reach out to me or you to be able to participate in this as well. We could certainly get you engaged in a number of different task forces.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that TMC does is we do recommended practices and recommended procedures, RPs. Sometimes I forget what it's all.
Recommended practices.
Recommended practices, and so it's not quite a standards organization, but it's a common way of having documents and real things out there for us all to do our work. So, there's something like 15 RPs in process on battery electric vehicles, as well as many other RPs. So it's real work that the committee and the task forces do to help the industry along. And the way I look at TMC, I've always considered TMC like the go-to meeting or one of the go-to meetings for me on the calendar year. And, as I kept going to them, it's like, well, while I'm here, why not get a little more, serious about it? And that's what participating on these committees and different task forces. So each of these RPs is developed by a group of people who, care deeply about that subject matter. And it's not a lot of work, it's volunteer work, but it helps you in your current role, or I find it helps me in my current job by working with others through the work of the TMC. So I joined Ken in inviting you. I mean, there's a annual meeting in the spring. Usually it's kind of winter, spring, but that's in Orlando. Starts the last couple of days of February this year, and then there's always one in the fall in September. So yeah, I totally agree. It's a good use of time and effort, and get you kind of off the sideline in the industry and get you into some action. So,
well Mike, and the other thing I throw out there is, it's one of those things where you get what you put into it, or you get out of it what you put into it. And so I always encourage people to get engaged in these. There's a lot of information that's being created and a lot of information that's being shared with others. And rather than learning these types of efforts on your own, where you have projects and you go through that whole process, and that's one way to do it. But a lot of times when you start engaging with others that have already gone through this process, you can pick up tips and pick up lessons learned and help your adoption or help your process when you start adopting these technologies as well. So great organization for that, and just learning more.
So we got to close this out, Ken, but I'm going to put you on the spot pretty hard. I mean, I think it's obvious, and it's obvious to me that when it comes to, pioneering battery electric trucks, I mean, really deploying them, you've got as much experience as anybody I know, or you're like a top 10. So, for that particular job that the industry has to do of making these electric trucks a reality by putting in place the infrastructure and and getting them into use where they really prove their benefits. what are a couple of suggestions you have for other fleet managers out there, or really other manufacturers and suppliers who are supporting them with deploying electric trucks as we sit here getting ready for 2023? I mean, what's one or two or three things, Ken?
Yeah, I think I would start out with, you've got to understand your duty cycle and what your vehicle is going, how it's going to operate, how much time it has to charge the vehicle, how many kilowatt hours it's going to use during its operation, that sort of thing, because that's really kind of the key to being able to select the equipment, selecting the tractors, selecting the charging stations, figuring out whether you need battery storage or not, and how that relates into the overall electric charging cycle and overall energy management and all. So I'd say that's probably number one, is you got to make sure you understand your duty cycle of the vehicles that you're operating. And then number two would be focus on the infrastructure. So once you figure out what your duty cycle is and charging stations and so on, it's focus on the infrastructure and figure out, how am I going to get that infrastructure in place so that I can support some electric trucks? It's kind of that build it in and they will come kind of a philosophy, but those infrastructure projects can take anywhere from 12 to 36 months. So you got to start there. And then I think the other thing from an industry perspective is we've got to have some focus on cost reduction, weight reduction, and range. Range anxiety is still a concern a little bit more with some of the earlier versions of the electric vehicles, but some of those factors are things that still need some focus on. So.
Yeah, very good. And a lot of collaboration.
A lot of collaboration, yes.
Because, that's why I've stayed in this industry my whole career, is I just didn't really enjoy how we all work together. But we're kind of doubling the size of the industry. Now we're bringing in utilities and EVSE manufacturers and a lot more software, a lot more connectivity. I mean, it's just the people, functions, and organizations and suppliers, it's expanding rapidly. So that collaboration is even more important now going forward. So, hey, Ken, thank you so much for joining us. It's been really insightful and a great conversation, and best to you at your efforts at US Foods and TMC and NACFE, and I'll be right along there with you, Ken.
All right. Thanks, Mike. It was great to be here and participate in this.
Freight Efficiency with NACFE's Mike Roth and Friends.